We're all going to die. How does that sentence make you feel? If you've been a follower of this podcast, you know that sentence empowers us instead of frightens us. I've said it frequently. None of us gets out of here alive. Our guest today is also not afraid of that sentence. Kristin Bunyard works with death every day. First, as an ossuary jeweler, we'll unpack what that term even means, and then as the author of a wonderful end-of-life workbook called, you guessed it, We're All Going to Die. Kristin begins with contemplating death and our mortality by creating jewelry from bones, and then takes us on a journey of preparation for our final days through her workbook. And of course, I'm here for all of it. I can't wait for you to meet Kristin Bunyard. Welcome to Before You Go, the official podcast of Abode Contemplative Care for the Dying. At Abode, our mission is that we live in a world where death is not feared, and we live fully until we die. And we'd like to make that happen before we go. I'm Natalie Buster at Abode in San Antonio, Texas. Welcome to Before You Go. Hi, Kristin.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on today.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you, mostly because you have entered a new word into my vocabulary, and you even taught me how to pronounce it, ossuary. So tell our listeners a little bit more about what that means, what it means to be an ossuary jeweler.
So I came up with the name for the business because I was trying to find something that kind of encapsulated the fashion and the mystery of it all. And the word ossuary is the Latin word for house of bones. And I feel like my house has kind of become that in reality. So that was the name that I chose for the jewelry.
Oh, fantastic. Are you wearing some of your ossuary jewelry?
I am actually. This is a necklace that I made for myself. So I love this piece.
Oh my gosh. So it begs the question, and I know our listeners are curious, where do you get these bones?
All of the materials that I use for the jewelry are from either roadkill that I pick up or from farm deaths. I do occasionally also work with pet memorial pieces as well. So everything that I use is ethically sourced. I try not to buy any bones from anyone if I don't know exactly where they came from.
Oh, you just piqued my interest a little bit with the pets. So if
Yeah.
someone wanted jewelry made from a pet who has passed, that's something you can provide as well?
Yes, I've done several pieces. Although I do often encourage people, rather than making jewelry, I also do some sculptural work. And I encourage people to do that for two reasons. Number one, because they're used to having their pet around their home all the time. And a sculptural piece lets them enjoy that every day and still see their pet and their loved one in their home. With jewelry, it becomes more of an accessory. And that's difficult, I think, when someone is dealing with something that they love.
Oh, that makes sense. And I think that's just a very compassionate way to go about things. You know, I'm sure that in your line of work, you become a little bit of a therapist as well.
Occasionally I do, yes. It's so hard for everyone when they lose a pet. I mean, our
Oh,
pets are so much a part of our family, so
I
it's
can't
it's really tough
imagine.
for a lot of people.
I have a beautiful Mexican hairless named
Do you
Audrey.
really? I love those.
She is so cute. She is the original Death Doula. As I don't know if you know,
Of
but
course.
like the Xolos, they in Aztec culture, Aztec philosophy, they were the psychopomps who were able to transcend from this world to the next.
I did not know that.
Coco, which is the Pixar movie Coco, um, one of the dog Dante leads Miguel into the afterlife and afterworld. And so it's just, I just think it's so cute. I got her before I even knew that I wanted to be a death doula. It just makes sense. Everything kind of comes together. And
I was gonna say, that's so perfect. I love that.
you help people process the grief maybe of their pets with the jewelry that you
Yes,
make, which is so
I do try.
beautiful. So, what led you down the path to become an ossuary jeweler?
It was honestly kind of a happy accident. It was certainly not something that I had actually intended and had set out to do. My family and we go on a family vacation every year, and very often we'll go to this ranch outside of Junction. And one of the days that I was there, I was out walking with the boys, my son and my nephew. They were both pretty young at the time, and we saw this huge snake out by the lake. And I called the ranch hand because I knew that he'd want to remove it. And I didn't realize at the time that he was going to shoot it, but he did. He came out and shot it. And after the snake had died, it kept moving for about 30 minutes. And I knew that it had died because the head was no longer there. But it still kept moving. And I found that fascinating. And so, just kind of being the weirdo that I am, I wanted to get in there and kind of figure out what was making it move. And I don't know what mystery I thought I was going to solve, but what I did find in there was just the most beautiful spine. I mean, the snake is obviously all spine. And I thought, golly, that'd make a really pretty necklace. And so after the trip, I took it home with me and I made a necklace for myself. And I really enjoyed the process. It was interesting to clean the bones and turn it into something lovely from all the viscera and all that. I thought it was a really interesting process. So that's why I decided to continue. And now it's been 15 years and hundreds of animals later, and certainly hundreds of pieces of jewelry later, and I'm still at it.
Do you still have that piece?
I actually don't have that piece. It's the only piece of mine that has ever been stolen.
Oh no!
Yeah.
That's bad karma for whoever
show.
Did that.
I know, right? It was really not cool.
Oh, I'm sorry, but luckily more pieces of yours still exist in the world.
Absolutely.
So that's great. And continue to make more.
Yeah.
Well, what I also want to talk to you about, and I'm super fascinated about this, you came out with an end-of-life planning book called
Yes.
We're All Gonna Die. First of all, I love the
Yes.
title.
Thank you so much.
Like, let's just get to the point. All right, we're not going to
Right.
beat around the bush. Can you tell me a little bit about what prompted you to write this book? What got you to sit down and put
Sure.
this together?
It's funny because this was also kind of an accidental project as well. I did not intend to make a book and did not intend to make it publicly available, really. You know, as we age, obviously, we start having to deal with the reality that people close to us are dying. And the older you get, it's a matter of time, you're going to have to help somebody with planning a funeral for someone. You just are. And when my grandmother passed, we knew kind of a big picture view of what she wanted for her funeral, but we didn't know any of the details. And we just hadn't asked her, what flowers do you want? What scripture do you want? Who do you want to invite? Who do you not want to invite? I mean, there's just so many questions that we never thought to ask until, the time came. And my mother and my uncle did the majority of planning for the funeral, and I think they did a beautiful job. I was honored to help as much as I could, but it got me thinking after that, I really wanted to know what they wanted for their funeral because I don't want to have to make those decisions for them. So I made the pamphlets and put it in a binder, and then it started getting bigger and bigger, and decided to make it into a book for them. I have a background in graphic design, and so for me, it's all about the presentation. It was very easy for me to, just want to turn it into a book. So once I did that, then I thought, well, this is going to be helpful for so many people. Mm-hmm. And I think more people should have access to this. And I know that there's other funeral planning books. There's a ton of PDFs that you can download online that are, simple enough and quick enough. But it's like doing taxes. It's not fun. It's not interesting. And it's also not really very comprehensive. It's kind of just as before, it's a big picture view. It's not all the details. So I really enjoyed getting into the weeds with this book and asking a lot of fun questions. So that's how I decided to do that.
And I love it. You have some really amazing illustrations. You being a graphic artist, I know you didn't do the illustrations, but you put it together in such a fun way. It encourages people to sit down with it and actually do the work. Like it's putting a little bit of fun in funeral, as they say.
Exactly. That's actually one of the chapter titles.
Yeah.
I feel like the guy who did the illustrations did such a phenomenal job. He just could not have been better. His name is Danilo Senino, and he does a lot of digital work online. And I was so lucky that I was able to work with him for this project. I feel like the illustrations and then also the humor that I've tried to inject into it have make the book more approachable and more fun.
So, other than the fun and funeral chapter,
Mhm.
what are some other points that you try and hit with this workbook?
So one of the, I think the most important chapter is, it's called Serving Body, Adi, Adi. And it's about how you actually want your body prepared. And a lot of people will say, okay, I want to be embalmed, I'm just buried, or I want to be cremated. But there's so many other options that are available now. And I didn't even honestly get to cover them all in the book because, there's so many different laws in different states, and it's hard to cover everything that's available in the United States. But aquamation is amazing, and natural burial is amazing, and human composting. And there's just so many other things that I think people don't often think about. And it was really nice to put at least some of those into that chapter and give people some other options.
Oh, I love that. And I feel like you being a creative person, and this whole season, we've had a lot of creative people come on to talk
Mhm.
about their views of death and dying. And I feel like creative people are really into the alternative forms of
Yes,
what happens to your body after you die. A traditional burial, that's a great choice for some, but I'm
sure.
just fascinated by some of the options out there, like you mentioned.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that creative people kind of tend to lean more toward the alternative methods. I think it's because we like to express ourselves in so many different ways. And I think in addition to that, I think creative people and artists tend to, don't quote me necessarily, but I think they tend to be more environmentally conscious. And so some of the older methods that, with embalming fluids and, just taking up so much land area with caskets and, these giant containers, there are other ways to do this where it's not so taxing on the environment. And I think that's really important.
What a great point. And we're also not afraid to think outside of the box.
Very true.
I'm like
Very
full of
true.
puns today, outside of the casket necessarily. Um,
I love that.
stop me, I'm on a roll. But how do you think that, things like this workbook, how does this help people process their mortality, right? Because it can be daunting to start to think about planning for the end of life. And a lot of
Sure.
people wait until they're sick or they have a terminal diagnosis to
Right.
do this kind of planning. But I think with a fun workbook like yours, people who are healthy our age could really get a lot out of this exercise.
I certainly hope so. I think one of the things, I mean, none of us likes to think about the fact that we're all going to die, but it comes for not just the elderly. Unfortunately, it comes for people at any age. We just don't know when our time is going to be. You cannot start planning early enough. And I know that sometimes when you plan early, it means you have to replan, every 5 years or so and kind of revisit what your ideas are because people evolve. But I think also younger generations tend to be a little bit more introspective and more willing to think about things regarding their own mortality. And I hope that the book also makes it approachable because of the humor. But I think that younger people will approach it in a different way than older people will because I think they enjoy telling their own story. And when you're choosing your own songs and your own scriptures, if you want scripture or not, your own readings and your own poems, I mean, you're talking about your own personality and you're letting people enjoy that part of you.
Oh, how beautiful. I feel that this generation, generation Z and the millennials, they're
Mhm.
used to telling their stories on social media and really
Absolutely.
creating almost their personal brand. What better
For sure.
way to really seal in that personal brand than through,
Absolutely.
end of life planning?
Absolutely.
And
Very
it
true.
takes the morbid aspect out of it, and it's more about
Right.
the storytelling.
I agree. And I do think that obviously younger generations, particularly Gen Z, I think they've had to grow up thinking about death in a different way than we do. And that's just unfortunately a sad reality for that generation, and certainly the ones that are coming up after them. They are not as touchy and squeamish about it as baby boomers are, and some Gen X as well.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I see it. I see a lot more conversations that people are having around death and dying on TikTok and
Absolutely. Yeah,
Instagram, and people are curious. And I think
for
they're
sure.
open to alternate forms for all of the
Yes.
reasons that you mentioned, from an environmental standpoint to
Right.
a creative and storytelling standpoint, and also that sense of agency and autonomy that they can have.
Absolutely.
So you're a graphic designer and an ossuary jeweler. How have the creative arts helped you shape your relationship with your own mortality?
I think the jewelry has probably helped me with that more than anything, because wh when I'm working with the bones, it is very present and clear to me that in order for me to create, something had to die. And I try to be very respectful of the animals that I work with. And it's not that I'm having a conversation with them, but I do try to be very reverent and never callous about it. Even if it's something that I've picked up off the road, that's still a beautiful creature that existed. And I think learning to deal with those animals and being so careful about them has also made me be more careful about myself and think about the fact that I could go at any time. And so I want to be better about taking care of myself, not only beforehand, but making sure that everything is in order for afterward as well.
Mm, perfect answer. That was beautiful.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I wonder if you can share with me a story of how your work, either as an ossuary jeweler or as the author of the We're All Gonna Die workbook, how that's helped maybe someone else process their grief or their view of their own mortality.
I can tell a story with the book that I found really, really touching. I something that I didn't expect with the book is hearing stories of people filling it out with their family members. In my head, I had kind of pictured someone's going to buy it, they're going to sit down and they're going to fill it out for themselves. But one of the people that had purchased the book, she took it once a week. She would go visit her mom and they would sit down together and work on a chapter at a time. And it sparked some really interesting conversations for them. And it was cool because they had been a bit estranged over the years, and they found that talking through some of those things really brought them together. And that was something that I did not expect. That just warmed my heart so much to hear that.
Oh, I love that. It really created this connection between them
Absolutely.
before it was too late, before
Exactly.
someone died, and that's why it's
Absolutely.
so important to record these stories and have these moments of connection
For
between
sure.
each other. Yeah. What do you wish more people knew about preparing for the end of life?
I wish that more people realized how much of a gift it is to make a plan. It is, like I said before, it's so hard because it's a funeral and you've got one shot to get it right. And so people feel all this pressure with the planning to make it perfect and to do all the right things. And they're focused on that instead of grieving and loss and dealing with their emotions through that process. And so I feel like if people could know anything, it's make a plan. It doesn't have to be my book. Write it down on a cocktail napkin if you have to. Whatever you've got, give your loved ones the gift of making a plan.
Mm, I say that too. It's if you do this, if you make a plan before you go, then your loved ones can just be your loved ones. They can just be
Absolutely.
your son or your sister or your spouse, and not also have to do the guesswork of what you may have wanted and do all of the
Right.
paperwork and try to track down things. They can just grieve and be
Absolutely.
present. Yeah. Oh, what great advice. Well, it sounds like you're very busy. So, how do you keep going? What's one thing that fills your cup?
I will tell you, I love taking photos. I love going out to abandoned buildings and taking photos. I'm not a particularly good photographer. So the thing that I enjoy the most about that process actually is editing the photos afterward. That fills my cup. I can get lost in that for hours.
The creativity is just pouring out of you.
You're so sweet.
You're like, I graphic design, I make jewelry, and then, to fill my cup, I also take photos.
It's always something with me. I'm always so up to something.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's such a great way. And I think, again, like what we said about creative people, like they just see the world in a different way. And
Sure.
it sounds like a lot of the things that you capture, abandoned buildings, nature, the way things change through time. I mean, it all kind of
Absolutely.
weaves together.
It does.
How can people order your book? How can people learn more about you? Maybe order some jewelry from you?
Absolutely. The jewelry is online at ossuaria.com. That's OSSUARIA.com. And the book is available there, but it's also available at kristinbunyard.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then one thing I ask all of our guests, Kristin, what do you want to do before you go?
I would love to go to the Czech Republic and see the Sedlec ossuary. I
Ooh,
would
yeah.
absolutely love, if of all of the beautiful bone chapels that there are, I would love to see that one the most. It's currently under renovation, and I've debated, like, do I want to go while it's under renovation? Because it would be so interesting to see that process and how they're cleaning the bones. And I don't know that I would get to see all of that, but I think that would be so interesting. But I will probably wait until after everything's over so I can see the majesty of the finished product.
Yeah. Have you seen any other ossuaries in the world?
I've been to the catacombs in Paris. I did get to go see that, and that was pretty incredible. So
Yeah.
overwhelming. What a beautiful space.
Oh gosh. Yeah. What was your big takeaway from that, would you say?
It was funny when I was going through. It's such a long way down, and then all the way through to the end. When you watch people when they first walk into the catacombs, and they're just completely overwhelmed by what they're seeing, and they're stopping to look at all of these different skulls, and then by the end, it's almost like they've become inured to it. And so
Mm.
they're not really paying attention anymore. And it really, this sounds kind of sappy, but it made me so sad for the skulls at the end that they don't get the same veneration that the ones at the beginning do.
Wow. What a
Yeah.
metaphor, though. I mean, I can apply what you just said to so many things in our current day,
Right.
that we start to get numb to or inured to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Unfortunately so.
That is on my bucket list. I've been to the catacombs in Sicily. That was really
Oh, how
wonderful. That was
amazing.
really wonderful. But the
I bet that was a
Paris
wonderful
ones,
trip.
it really was. Yeah. So let's go. Let's go to some
Let's
ossuaries
do it.
together. Let's do an
I would
ossuary
love that.
tour.
That would be amazing.
Oh my gosh. Kristin, thank you so much for your time and just talking
Thank
about all the great
you.
work you do.
I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Before You Go, the official podcast of Abode Contemplative Care for the Dying. At Abode, we believe death is not a medical event, and we are not medical professionals. We're just sharing our opinions, and these opinions shouldn't be taken as medical advice. You can find us online on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. This episode was edited by Make Your Day Richer.